Hello everybody, welcome once again to the Free Agent Christian channel. We're glad you're here again this week. Typically I try to make my videos on Saturday, but unfortunately I have to work this Saturday. So it's actually Friday afternoon when I'm making this video. I've done some studying this week and been reading, I read the book of Revelations this week and thought about the things that's in it. You know, a lot of people will be talking about, the things to come. And I'm not saying that those things shouldn't be talked about, but the one thing that stood out for me this week, and each week it's always something different that stands out. And this week we're going to start in Revelations, but we got a couple other places we're going to go, and everything ties in. Lord being our helper. But we're going to start out in the very last chapter of Revelations. And we're going to start with the very last chapter of Revelations will be chapter 22 and verses 18 and 19. That's where we're going to start. And before I go any further, this toward the end of the week here, I found out some local people where I live, they've had fathers pass away, and one girl that I went to school with was only 46 years old. And, folks, we never know. So before I get started this week with what the Lord has for us, let me say, if today or before this day ends, if you have any doubt of where you're going to spend eternity, where your soul will go once the breath leaves this body. If you have any doubts of that, God's word tells us today is the day of salvation. You need to get that settled and not have any doubts. We worry as a society. We worry about a lot of different things. Some people worry about their kids. I mean, I've got a daughter that's in college, and I worry about her. And I talked to her earlier in the week, and she's like, "Dad, I understand that you worry, but real worry's not doing you any good." And there's some truth in that. Worry is not doing us a bit of good. We can't gain nothing from it, and so we shouldn't worry at all. But seems like a lot of times human nature, that's what we tend to do. We worry. So, I want to say, whoever's watching this video, because I don't know who it reaches, if you have one single shred of doubt of where you're going to spend eternity, today is the day you need to find out. And because, it ain't just, it's not just elderly people. Here's this girl, that was 46 years old. And it was mind blowing to me, that at 46, that she's, she leaves behind a son, she leaves behind a family. I don't know the cause of what happened. I know the Lord does, but I don't. Today is the day of salvation, not tomorrow. We plan for it all the time. We plan for tomorrow. And of course, obviously I'll just be honest with you. I plan for tomorrow as well, but that doesn't mean that I'll be here. But I'm still gonna plan. But the one thing for certain is I know without a doubt where I'm going. I have no doubts in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, that one day I'm going to be able to, shake hands, hug Jesus Christ, and bow before him and tell him how much I love him. And I already know he loves me. So, with that being said, if you're not right with the Lord today is the day to get that way, because you don't know that you'll be here tomorrow or not. But in Revelation chapter 22, verses 18 and 19, that's where we're going to start. And so our key thing here is adding and taking away. Adding and taking away. And then I'm going to give you some life examples that I've experienced, that I've seen. And it fascinates me that people will stand in a church building, and they'll do this very thing that they are not supposed to do. So verse 18, and please pay close attention to what I'm saying, and go, like I always say, go read it for yourself. Go read it for yourself. It's that simple. Verse 18 says, "For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book." Now I'm going to stop right there. This book, I take that to mean from Genesis to Revelations. "If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book." Stop and think about that. You should never, ever, even if you're not, let's say you're a church member, and maybe you're not a pastor, maybe you're not the song leader, maybe you're not the Sunday school teacher or the Sunday bus driver. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just a person there. You should never try to add anything. Revelations 22 stops at verse 21. It doesn't go any further. You should never try to add something that's not here, not in it. And that's the reason why I say, don't just take my word for it. Go pick it up, go read it, because it says it's there. Now, verse 19, and this is kind of the focal point of it all when I read this week. "And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book." So now, not only should you not be adding to the book, but you also should not be taken away from it and saying, "Oh, well, that part don't necessarily." I'm going to tell y'all something. And some may very well know this, but there's a lot. I think it's a couple of things. Either they don't understand it for what it is, or they don't care, or maybe their mindset is I'm somebody, right? I don't know what their way of thinking is. It's don't add to this book and don't take away from this book. Now, I've had a few people tell me that there's so many different versions. They have hundreds of different versions of the Bible. And I think I've stated this in previous videos that I read the King James Version. I don't want any other version. It's what I was raised on. And so that's the version for me. I think it sets the best, if we could use the word example, that you can use. And we don't need any other version. You don't need a version that's going to make you feel good. You don't need a version that's going to make you, this book alone will make you happy. And some of it might make you sad. I'll be honest with you all. It's hard for me to read the story about, Jesus's crucifixion and what they done to him and how they treated him. It breaks my heart. It really does. But I still read it. It's difficult, but I read it. So, again, we don't want to add and we don't want to take away because it's not our place to do those things. So I got a couple other places I want to read, and then there's some things that go along with these couple of other places and how the world does these things. Now, again, could it be that they just don't care? Or could it be that they believe in their mind that, man, hey, I'm somebody, so I can just do as I please? Well, it doesn't work that way. It just flat out does not work that way. So I want to go over it. This is a familiar story for most people. I'm sure it is. And if we can get over there to it, I know I got it bookmarked. So I knew I had it bookmarked. I knew it hadn't gotten away from me that quick, but this will be very familiar. But there's a lesson to be learned in this beyond, that just what the story is, okay? So over in John chapter 4, I'm going to start at verse 6. Now, there'll be a little bit of reading here to this. It's going to be a little bit extended, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But in John chapter 4, starting in verse 6, it says, "Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink." He wanted something to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. And Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing into everlasting life. The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus saith unto her, Go call thy husband, and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. In that saidest thou truly. The woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain, nor yet in Jerusalem, worship the Father. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what ye worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. That verse 23, I'm going to stop right there. Because a lot of people have the idea that going to church is the only place to worship the Lord. Sorry, but it's not. That's not me adding to this. Jesus himself in his own words, they're in red. At verse 23, he said, But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Folks, you can worship the Lord on a sidewalk. If that's where he tells you to worship him at, or if you feel it in your soul and in your heart to do, that's what you should do. You should do it, wherever you feel led to do it. I mean, even when you back up to verse 21, Jesus saith unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh, when ye shall neither in this mountain, not on a mountaintop, nor yet at Jerusalem, worship the Father. They have this idea we put God in this box, in this building, and that's the only place that you could worship at. That's the only place that you're going to find him. That's the biggest load of you know what that ever came off the farm, plain and simple. But yet there's people telling them, oh, well, this is the place where the Lord is. Really? I didn't know that I was in the habit of telling the creator of human life and the world where he should be on a Sunday or a Monday or a Tuesday. I didn't know I had that kind of authority. Last I checked, from Genesis to Revelations, I don't have that kind of authority. Maybe some of you do, but I don't. Verse 24, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Nowhere in this did it say anything about a building. Not nowhere did it say that at all. We'll move on. The woman saith unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus saith unto her, I that speak unto thee am he. Now, upon that being said, Jesus told her everything. To summarize, to go on, I'll read a couple more verses. And upon this came his disciples and marveled that he talked with the woman. Yet no man said, What seekest thou? Or why talkest with her? The woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and saith to the men, Come and see a man which told me all things I'd ever done. Is not this the Christ? And so I read that to say this. Let me move on to the next part, because we're coming down to the meat and potatoes of all this. Okay, in John chapter 8, and we're going to start, I guess, in verse 1 and read down to verse 11. Okay, and it says, Jesus went into the Mount of Olives, or went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? This they said, tempting him, that he might have to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down with his finger, wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Jesus was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Jesus had lifted himself up, and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Jesus said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more. Now, I read those two stories, and these are verifiable accounts. We had the woman at Samaria, the woman at the well. A lot of people know that story. I know that story, but I look at it now in a different light. So when we go back to Revelations chapter 22, and he said, don't add anything to this book. Don't take anything away from this book. So I'm going to share a little something with you. I know a woman a lot of years ago. She attended a church, and there's some folks in that church took it upon themselves to, because this woman was going through a divorce. They took it upon themselves to say, we don't want a divorced woman in this church. They took the story of the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, where Jesus said, you have 5 husbands, and yet you, even now, you live with one and say you don't have any. Jesus never looked at her and said, you draw my water and then you make tracks. He never said that at all. Matter of fact, he said the quite opposite. Because she started to talk about their traditions, so to speak, of worshiping in the mountain. I read it to you. And that only the Jews could go and worship in Jerusalem. Jesus never told her to make tracks. Jesus loved her enough to say, no matter what you've done, I'm about to tell you everything. And I'm about to tell you that I am the Christ and that your sin is forgiven, basically. He didn't say, well, hit the door. You don't need to be here because I don't want your kind here. He didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. In that church, there's still some of those people around. I won't say what their roles are today. I'm not going to do that. But I will say this. You took that story and you ripped it completely out of, that's in John chapter 4. You took that story and you ripped it completely out. And that's not the only story that you took and ripped out. You took over in John chapter 8, you took this story, the woman that was caught in adultery that was fixing to be stoned. I just read it to you. You took that story and you ripped it out too. Now, you might think I'm getting a little agitated. You might think I'm getting a little angry. No. But it does get me fired up because I know the Jesus Christ that has nothing but love for you, for me, and those very same people. He had the same love that he had for me. He had for the woman at the well. He had for this woman that was caught in adultery, that was fixing to be stoned. And yet Jesus looked at the ones that was fixing to do it and say, the first one that was without sin among them, go ahead and start throwing your rock. But they couldn't do it. Why? Because they was just as guilty as she was, sin-wise. You took those 2 stories. If there is a pastor, a deacon, a Sunday school teacher, a Sunday school bus driver, piano player, song leader, I don't care who you are or where you come from. You took those 2 examples, those 2 stories, and you ripped that out. What did it say in Revelations chapter 22 about adding and taking away? This has been on my heart all week long, and it's had me fired up with this deal. And these people that'll do that, I've seen it. I've seen it. I've heard them say the words, we don't want a divorced woman here. How dare you think so much of yourself and so little of Jesus Christ to say, I can just say what I want. This is my building. This is my church. Well, I guess you can. But maybe you need a reminder of chapter 22, verses 18 and 19 in Revelations. And that reminder, and I'm telling you folks, I'm not mad. I'm fired up about it because people think that, I can just, because I'm this or I'm that, I'm going to share something else with you. My righteousness, your righteousness, it's nothing more than filthy rags before Jesus Christ. That goes for every pastor that's ever stood, Billy Graham, and the list goes on and on. Their righteousness is the same as mine. Nothing more than filthy rags before Jesus Christ. So how dare you stand up in front of a congregation today and act like that you've never done no harm or no wrong. When you took these 2 stories, you took the woman at the well and you took the woman that was had been caught in the very act of adultery, and you threw them out. You ripped them out of the book and said, well, we don't need them. We don't need those people here. We don't need this woman that's divorced in our church. We don't need those things here. Oh, you don't. Jesus said, I come to call that's lost to repentance. I didn't come to call the righteous. Your way of thinking would be, well, the righteous, man, we can let them in. But the divorced person or the drunkard or the thief, no, we're going to close the door on them right fast and quick. So I'm going to remind you again. Verse 18, it says, For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of this prophecy, of this book. John is within, it's between Genesis and Revelations. If any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. They was plagues in Egypt on the people, on Pharaoh. If you think God can't bring plagues on you, you better think again, because I just read it to you. Verse 19, and if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life, and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. If you're standing in front of a congregation, come Sunday, whatever day of the week it is that some places are different, okay, that hold this, and again, I'm not mad, but man, it just burns me up, because I know that that's not the way Jesus Christ is. He didn't look at me and say, oh, hey, the past 30 some odd years of your life, you went and done this and you went and done that, and I know what you done. You know what you done. But no, I'm not going to give you an opportunity this morning to rededicate your life. So how dare any of us, myself included, to look at anybody and to think that I'm somehow better than they are, because I'm not. I can assure you, God has no respect of persons. Took me a minute to get to it. He has no respect of persons. What you've done, what you've said, those are the things. That's your fruit that you put out there. That you put out there. You know that woman that they said that, hey, we don't want a divorced woman in our church. You know, she never went back to that church. She left that church, you know. Now, that woman's still alive today, and so is the people that said it. Some may have passed over time. And I'll say this. If it was me, I can't force or make anybody do anything. But I will say, if it was me, if I know in my heart and in my mind, without a doubt, that I have said something or if I have done something, especially now. Years ago, I didn't care, y'all. I mean, I just didn't care how I lived, just to be quite honest with you. And I'm not perfect. I failed just like the next one does. But if I know in the back of my mind, or in my heart, in my soul, that I've said something to cause somebody to leave church, or if I say that I am a child of Jesus Christ, of God the living Father, that because of what they may have done, I'm going to tell them to leave church? I don't know. Again, I think I've said this in one of my other videos. I thought the whole objective was to get people in, not run people out. You know, if it was me and I'd done that, I would take a long, hard look. I would go in prayer. Lord, if there's anything that I've done, let me make an amends for it. Let me go apologize, God. Because I don't want my part taken out of the book of life, out of the holy city. I don't want plagues added unto me. So I would go to that person and say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. God showed me that I was wrong. Through his word, he showed me that I was wrong. What I said to you at that time, and that was wrong for me to run you out of this church. They took, and a lot of them does it today, they took those two stories and they throw them completely out the window. We don't need them, or they'll try to spin it and twist it into something that it's not. Well, I got news for you. If you're calling yourself a Christ, Jesus Christ, a follower of Jesus Christ, if I get the words out here, there is absolutely no way that you can be in your heart of hearts. There is no way that you can call yourself that and go out here and treat one another in such way. It's just not possible. Jesus told the people and his disciples standing there as well, you cannot serve two masters. You'll love one, hate the other, despise one, and cling to the other. You cannot serve both. There is no middle ground. If you think I got, mad, folks, I didn't. It gets me fired up when I hear people stand and I know what they've done. I know what they've said. They calling themselves Christians. And you're the furthest thing from it. You're the furthest thing from it. Some say, oh, well, he's accusing people. No, I ain't accusing you of nothing. Because it's right here in this book. So when you stand and you say, much like Jesus, when he talked to the woman at the well, he didn't say, oh, now wait a minute here. She had 5 husbands, got rid of them, and was living with one that wasn't even her husband. He didn't say, well, just get me a drink of water and to heck with you and kick rocks. He didn't do those things. He loved her just as much as he loves me and as much as he loves you watching this video today. Then the woman caught in adultery. She was caught in the act. That's what it says. I read it to you right there in chapter 8. John chapter 8. She was caught in the act. Again, he didn't say, oh, you know what, go ahead and just stone her. I'm too busy to be bothered with these things. Yeah, just go ahead and stone her. He didn't do that. He showed love. He showed compassion. Man, what an awesome king I serve. And you can serve him today as well. Like I said at the beginning of the video, none of us promised tomorrow. None of them. None of us. And so today is the day of salvation. Again, like always, I thank you for watching my video. Had to make it a little earlier this week than I normally do, but that's okay. We still fulfilled what the Lord would have us to do. And like always, share the video, send it to someone. You never know. You will never know, how it affects someone. Video went a little longer today, but that's okay. Or, the Lord, this is what the Lord laid upon me. This is what I believe he wanted me to talk about. Because we got so many out there that's doing this. They are doing this. And they'll either, if they don't rip it completely out of there and throw it out the window, then they're going to twist it to some way to make somebody happy. I'm going to tell you something, one last thing, and then I'll leave you. From Genesis to Revelations, this ain't a feel-good, happy story book. Yes, there's some great stories in it. Yes, there's some happy times, but there's also some bad times. And so with that being said, God bless each and every one of you for watching the video this week. Lord's will, we'll be back with another video next week. Until then, thank y'all so much for watching.